you recording now? Okay. Maybe we give a really short introduction of the reason why we are here. I mean, just to introduce quickly for the ones that are not with us with the project regularly. I mean, that they don't know. I mean, hello everyone, and thanks for participating. We are here today because for the city of Sofia, obviously, that's related to a project funded by the European Union via CINEA, that is the agency. It's called Climaboro. And in the framework of our project, that is a 14 cities project, by the way, 8 of them directly involved now, one of them is Sofia, is then defining these preliminary market consultations that are part of a public procurement that the colleague Francesco Molinari will introduce later on and explain you better everything. And now Metodi and the team of Sofia will be presenting the challenge that they have and what they're looking for to solve the issues that Metodi is going to introduce. And that's just to give you a short introduction, avoiding to lose too much time. Just a last important point is that this project is part of the 100 climate neutral and smart cities mission, which obviously I guess that you know, and that is particularly that is the center of the European Union strategy right now around smart cities. Okay, Metodi, you can go introducing Sofia's challenge and needs.
Yes, hello from my side as well. My name is Metodi Avramov. I'm working for Sofia Urban Mobility Center. Here with me from the Sofia project team, there are Metodi and Alexander. So I will briefly present the challenge for the Sofia. I will share my screen now. I will share my screen. See. So yes, we will see it for those of you who are not aware. Short introduction. Sofia is the capital of Bulgaria, the largest city with more than 1.3 million inhabitants. And as every big city, we have challenges with parking and traffic in the city of, especially in the central part of the city. Short introduction of the paid parking zones in Sofia. Currently, there are approximately 33,000 paid parking spots, which are divided in two zones. There is a blue zone, which is a more central part of the city, and more peripheric one is so-called the green zone. Both zones are having different conditions and different conditions for use. In the blue zone, the maximum duration for parking is up to 2 hours, and it's working from Monday to Saturday, 8:30 in the morning till 8 p.m. in the evening, and the price per hour is approximately one euro. While in the green zone, this same price per hour is approximately 50 euro cents, and here the maximum duration of the time for parking is up to 4 hours. The green zone works from Monday to Friday with the same working time from 8:30 to 7:30 p.m. and works on Saturday from 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. Both zones are not working on Sunday. Additionally, all electric vehicles registered in Sofia parked for free in the short-term paid parking zones. Just as a number, currently we have more than 4,500 electric cars. As a comparison, in 2017, these cars were only 250. So you can see what a huge boom we had in the last 5 years with electric cars. And this is a slide for the current extensions of the paid parking zones and the time duration for parking. It was not the same as it is now. Beginning a couple of years ago, for example, the green zone was not working on Saturday. It's working on Saturday since 2021. And here you can see the evolution of the blue zone. In 2016, there were 5,000 places, parking places in the blue zone, and now there are around 12,000, 7,000 more. And as I mentioned, in total, we have 33,000 parking places in the paid parking places in the city of Sofia. Here you can see on the map showing the extensions with different colors. Light blue is the extension of the blue zone. In the previous picture, the light green is the extension of the green zone. So current situation, as I mentioned, is more than 30,000 parking spots. And we're going slowly to the challenge that in the blue zone, the occupancy is more than 90%. And what we saw after the transformation, as you can remember from the previous slide, that some part of the green zone were transformed to blue zone, of course, with all of the conditions valid for the blue zone, which is the maximum duration for the stay was shortened from 4 hours to 2 hours, and the price was increased from 50 euro cents to 1 euro. Then we saw actually the occupancy was less than what it used to be, of course, but constantly and gradually all of the newly introduced parking places in the blue zone are reaching this more than 90, actually more than 95, even in some hours, in the rush hours during the day. Some of the subzones, because all of the zones is having subzones, some of the subzones, namely from 1 to 4, and partially from 5, it's 100% now, the occupancy rate for the paid parking zones. And thus, this is actually the challenge. I will introduce also the what other cars actually could park in these paid parking zones in order to have the full picture. So residents are also allowed to park in the subzone where they live. And according to the regulation of Sofia municipality, there are now limitation of maximum 2 cars per household. There are plans for limiting this to only 1 car for a household, but so far it's 2 cars per household. And the prices for this is for the first car, it's around 75 euros per year. Second car is doubling that price. This is in the blue zone. And in the green zone, it's approximately 50 euros per year, the residence permit for the first car, and 100 euros for the second car. As a rule, second car is twice the price for the first car. This is the as a residence limitation. Who else could park in the short-term paid parking zones? We have business subscriptions with different options available in working days or on Saturday and Sundays, during the night in some locations, or extended times during the working days. And this business subscription starts from 75 euros to more than 300 euros per month. Another users of the paid parking zones are there are designated parking places for people with disabilities. Currently, there are around 1,200 parking places for people with disabilities. As a rule, they are parking for free, but the maximum duration is up to 4 hours in both zones, no matter green or blue. They can stay maximum up to 4 hours, and for this time, their parking is free. What else in the zones? Around 200 parking spaces are converted to park for two-wheel vehicles, e-scooters, bicycles, some bigger scooters. So these parking spots are located in the blue and in the green zone as well. Having all this in mind, just to I could just summarize. We have a regular parking for people who park short-term in the short-term paid parking zones with the conditions as I specified in the blue and in the green zone. We have residents. We have business subscription options. We have people with disabilities. So all of these are all these users use the short-term paid parking zones in the city. And what actually we expect from the innovative solution according to this call and this innovative procurement is that we have as I mentioned, in some of the subzones, we have in certain time of the days, we have 100% occupancy, which caused a lot of search traffic, a parasite search traffic. There are cars which are searching for parking spot in these areas, and they generate this traffic for searching of a parking place. According to what this was one of the according to the Sofia urban sustainable urban mobility plan of Sofia municipality, there is stated that at least 15% should be available in the zones in order to don't have this non-stop search traffic in the zones. And having this 15% available parking spaces in the short-term paid parking zones will lead to the, of course, decreasing the search traffic, improving the parking conditions, of course, improving the enforcement, and as a final target, as a final goal, it's the model shift to more sustainable modes of transport, which is public transportation, cycling, walking, or shared mobility transport means. So having said that, now we as a solution, we identified, this is the snapshot from central. This is a very central part of the city, namely the subzones of the blue zone, subzone 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where the pressure and the demand is extremely high. Here we are observing, as I mentioned, 100% occupancy rate in a specific or certain time of the day. That is why we are investigating for a solution. We're searching for a solution which will provide us with first with the information for this surge traffic, because we know that there is a surge traffic, but we don't know the volume of this surge traffic, as well as occupancy rate for specific time slots, time durations. Knowing this particular information, where and when this zone is and where the demand is increasing and is reaching near 100%, Sofia municipality could make a tailor-made solutions and decision for a dynamic pricing, increasing of the prices for certain time slots during the day, or have a dynamic pricing, which or dynamic flexible pricing, meaning the first hour is one price, and then the second half hour or second hour of the stay of the same car, the price will be higher. So all that tools which could be implemented in pricing, but based on information, because now we don't have this specific information which we could analyze, and based on the statistics for a certain period of time to have propositions and proposals to Sofia Municipal Council, because the prices are set in Sofia for parking are set by Sofia Municipal Council. So to have a justified proposals, how, where, and when we could implement some different or dynamic prices, but based on the statistical information, analytical information we could have from the occupancy rates in the certain area of the city. We left to the provider of the solution to select the zone which will be covered by the solution as our intention, or because we explored some such solutions in the past, but we figured it out that we will need at least eight blocks as a rule. The one block is the smallest area surrounded by streets, smallest building area surrounded by streets. So in this particular central part of the city, most of the streets are one direction streets, so at least eight blocks should be covered in order to be sure that we will cover the surge traffic in this area. We consider that cameras with license plate recognition is one of the options to gather necessary information for this surge traffic and the occupancy rate of the zones. As a additional option, the solution should be also connected to Sofia Urban Mobility Center databases for the residents, because it's interesting for us also what percentage of this zone and the cars parked within the area of the solution is occupied by residents, occupied by people with disabilities, occupied by electric cars as well, in order to have a better better analytical services, and as I mentioned, tailor-made proposals to Sofia Municipal Council for prices, for dynamic prices within this particular area, because now we don't have this information. We know that in certain time the zone is 100% occupied, but with more precise timing, with more precise locations, we could make more, let's say, more proposals to municipal council, as I mentioned, justified and based on information gathered by the proposed solution. That is why we left it open for selecting the particular area of the city to be selected by the provider of the solution. It could be more than 8 blocks, depends on the proposed solution, but as a must, we need this. We need information for the volume of the search traffic and the occupancy rate within the certain designated area within the central part of the city, in the blue zone for short-term paid parking. I think, yes, I think this is all from my side as a introduction to the paid zones in Sofia. In general, we have a high demand in some areas in the central part of the city, and we would like to deal with this high demand based on statistical and analytical information to have more justified proposals to Sofia Municipal Council.
Thank you, Metodi. That was an excellent presentation from my point of view, and I have a lot of questions. So I break the silence, not to make the questions, because I can always make them private to you, not in private, because this is an official event, so I will make them public. But I prefer waiting until some of the participants break the silence and make their own questions, and then I will come back. I only would like to add that, like I just said, this is not a normal workshop. This is part of a procedure, and we welcome suggestions from the participants. Today is the day of the suggestions. If there are any solutions already in place or resulting from past projects, R&D projects, which can go in the direction stated by Metodi before, we would love hearing about those solutions and create the best conditions to profile the upcoming call for tender in such a way that those solutions become competitive. We are not restricting the market and the access to this call for tender. We are opening it up. So don't be shy, also because the proceedings of this event will be published on the website of the Clamaboro project. And so anyone not being here today will be in the condition of listening to the presentation done by Metodi earlier today, and also listen to any comment that will be made after his presentation. So I stop here to see whether there are any questions. We are not in a hurry. This event is supposed to last for another couple of hours, and there is little content left from our side. So I cordially invite also those who joined a bit later We started at 9 o'clock. I saw people joining a bit afterwards. If you missed some part of the presentation from Methodi and you want to make questions to clarify, feel free. I will now stop talking to leave the floor to anyone wanting to speak first, and then I will be back with my own questions. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jana, and I'm a data scientist at Theoremos, and I'm here with Hristo, our CBDO. I have a quick question about some of the requirements. So one of the most difficult problems, in my opinion, is to extract the exact point when a vehicle would enter the subzone of the blue or the green zone. So we were thinking, like, how do we figure out exactly when does the search for a specific parking spot begin? And let's say one option would be to use some sort of video data like CCTV or cameras. Are we going to technically, is it possible to access this sort of data?
Our understanding is it is that the provider of the solution will select, meaning it could be cameras, could be sensors, could be satellite photos. We don't restrict the provider with the solution. So as a search traffic, we consider that same plate, same car is searching. To park, it's obviously to park. So the volume of this traffic is the repeated number of cars which are passing within a designated area, which area we leave to the provider to select and to choose. We have, as a city, actually, as a city, there we have an information for cars entering, I think, in the blue zone. But we could provide, yes, with information for cars entering and exiting, but this is in a big scale of the whole zone of this 12,000 parking spots. Here we would like to test a pilot solution for a smaller area, which is independent from the cameras which we have now in place. Of course, I think we could. This information could be used for at least for cars who are which are transiting, because if a car enters the blue zone and exits the blue zone, meaning in a 15-20 minutes, it's a indicator that this car is transiting and it's not entering the zone for parking. But yes, we would like to have a full ready-to-use solution from the provider for the occupancy rate and for the search traffic. And we are not limiting this to the cameras, although we consider that with cameras, which will be the most, will be the easiest. There could be also, from the provider perspective, for choosing the zone, you could, let's say, investigate within the zone, because with camera solutions, there will be trees too, and some other obstacles for a clear view for the camera. So the number of cameras and the area covered, it's to be selected by the provider. We need, as I mentioned, the occupancy rate, where any GPS, and it should be GPS tracked data, because we need, in this particular section, the zone was, let's give you an example, at 8 in the morning it was 80%, in 8:30 it is 95, and it's in 9 a.m. for example, it's 100%, and it stayed 100% till 10:30. So we have now information, and this is only on Mondays, or this is happening every single working day. And if we have this information that from 9 to 9:30, for example, every working day there is a so high demand and pressure for parking, we could take some steps for decreasing this demand with some pricing strategies or other strategies. But first we need to know when and where.
Okay, and when you're talking about 100% occupancy, you mean 100% of the parking spaces in the designated area are full?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you do have statistics about how many parking spaces are available in the designated area? Like,
yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but also the provider should know, because camera, for example, will locate the number of this specific one-way street. For example, will locate that there are 25 places between two intersections, 25 places, and then as I mentioned, we will provide also information of how many of these cars actually are for residents, because they stay there and they occupied actually the blue zone and the green zone, but they're residents. They have different different conditions for parking. So the solution which we will search with the municipal council probably will be for those who are entering the zone and is using the zone as a short-term paid parking, not the residents. Meaning the residents decrease the number of places for the short-term paid parking, which is also the electric cars doing. So having information how many of these cars, for example, are electric, this could also generate ideas and proposals to the municipal council how to solve the issue with the 100% occupancy. And just to clarify, we don't want to have a let's say, based on the cameras information for a free parking spot, we will not use the information to guide traffic to the specific parking spot in real time, because this will generate traffic, and as I mentioned, it's almost 100%. So the place, if there is a vacant place, it is not vacant literally in front of you, so seconds, not minutes. So the solution we search, it is not necessary to work in real time. What we need is statistical data generated by the solution, and in order to know what is actually our patterns in different days, work days, weekends as well. There might be, for example, only Mondays to have a high demand in the specific streets, then we could have a different price only on Monday, only at 9 till 10.
It's also most likely seasonal, like not only limited to, working days or weekends. So it's a larger period, yeah.
Yes, and we would like this to be, I don't know, we will speak after that with Matteo and with Francesco, but now what we observe in this very moment, it is not 100% because of the summer season. So we need this solution to work in the autumn, definitely, not in the summertime. But yes, you're right. There is also seasonal demand.
Thank you.
And also, if there is some also artificial intelligence connected to the databases or to the data gathered by the solution to because now we will observe a small section, small area, but for the bigger picture, if we have some software to do the calculations and to predict, it will also be welcome.
I think patterns would be definitely, let's say, visible, and probably we could reapply some solutions from subzones to others. But again, as with everything which constitutes public transportation and transportation in general, there are certain patterns, but it's also, we have the element of unpredictability just because there's human behavior, right? But definitely, like for sure, we can establish some patterns if we look at long-term data.
Indeed, and now we have in public transportation such a system for monitoring occupancy rate in public transport vehicles. We have also yearly statistical surveys for what is the modal share of public transport, of cycling, of walking. So we could, after implementing some measures based on this statistical data, we could actually have information for the result if this is successful or unsuccessful. But in any way, if the zone before the measure is 100% and after some measures taken by based on the statistical information, it's not 100% but 80%, this means definitely less cars.
Okay, hello, I'm Bertrand Coppignot from Kenshu. I have a question regarding what is the expectation in terms of software, hardware parts of the solution. I see well the software parts of analyzing the parking occupancy and the traffic conditions in the zone. I understand that there is already some kind of camera probably deployed in the area, but my question is, should the solution provider consider the deployment of hardware, meaning cameras, in the zone, or should we work exclusively with what is already deployed? And what would be the condition for deploying hardware in the area?
As I mentioned, the area will be chosen by the provider. If there is a border area, I told you that there are cameras but only in the bordering area of the big blue zone. But in any way, some camera deployment will be necessary if this is a solution for the provider.
Right.
Could be also some sensors, but I don't know if the sensor could say occupancy rate, but not the surge traffic. And it's more difficult for sensors than for cameras. The conditions for the deployment itself. The power supply is available because in this area there are light, lamp posts. Mm-hmm. So there will be power supply for this. But yes, we need for a how it is called end key, meaning the whole solution. The provider to not to rely on the existing cameras and equipment, although there are cameras, but as I mentioned, they are in a bordering area. If I share again my screen, so this is on the right. This is the blue zone. So there are cameras on this ring, which is bordering inner ring, let's say, because this is not the ring road, but it's a central ring. Inside not so sure where and how. We could investigate for you, of course, where are the existing cameras in place in order you to make better selection of the area. What we need actually is here. This is the central part of the city, because here the demand is highest.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Vie, do you want to talk?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you said you don't want to redirect the traffic in like at all, or like, or at least not in the moment, not in the instant, right?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Before you said that you don't want to redirect the traffic in the moment, right? Instantaneously.
We hear you it's very quiet.
Yeah, you're very far, a bit far.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah, that's better
Yeah.
now. That's better.
yeah.
That's better.
You said that you don't want to redirect the traffic instantaneously, right?
Yes, for sure.
I mean, like more a general term, like if there would be like a place which like a zone which where the occupancy is in a low rate, you wouldn't want to redirect it a little bit. That zone, for example.
We are closing some windows here, so I will ask you for the third time.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't get the final part of the question. We don't want to lead the traffic. Yes, this is for sure. And just to mention, in December there will be low emission zone in Sofia, and this area will be covered. This particular blue zone will be covered by the low emission zones. Gradually there will be some restrictions for cars, but this is for all cars, not for particular area. So yes, could you now again?
Yeah, my question was if you don't want to redirect the traffic at all. Like, I mean, I understand that if there is like a vacancy in a spot, you are not gonna tell, of course, like the car that okay, there's a vacancy here, a free spot in here. But if there would be like some subzone with a low rate occupancy, you wouldn't want either to redirect the traffic there. I don't know.
Yes, you're right. We have, for example, at 16 locations in the city, information for available spaces in the big squares. Only at 5 or 6 locations. So at 16 locations we have these boards, but they show available places at 5 or 6 locations, which are squares. You're right. If there is a very low occupancy, we could say that in this particular area or zone, you could rather find place to park rather than the other area. But within this first, second, third, fourth, or fifth subzone we mentioned, there is no such case.
Okay. Any other questions? And maybe Francesco, if you have the questions that you said, you can go.
Yes, yes, I think this is the time. Okay, first of all, I have a general remark, Methodi, which is also a piece of information for the participants in this call and those who will be watching the recording afterwards. On top of publishing the recording on our website, we will also create a report for the event. Now, in order to make this report, Methodi, more attractive, more interesting for the readers, I think we should also consider adding some extra information on data you are in possession of. And now, after this general remark, I will try to make examples, which are not examples, are questions for you, whether you are in possession of this information or not, and the extent to which you can share it with the people who came to this event, those who will be watching, remembering that they will have time until the end of the month to make a proposal based on the knowledge they have on how to solve this issue here. So my first curiosity is whether you know exactly how many people pay on the spot to have their 2 hours or 4 hours for that parking spot. So you know, during a day, there was a sale of, I don't know, 10, 100, 1,000, and this compared with the nominal availability of spots, parking spots, this can give some kind of information. I don't know. So the question is whether you know this or it's very generic, and my question is maybe stupid because of that.
Generally, we know because everybody pays on the spot for the first hour, let's say. What we could have as a difference actually is that we know how that 90% pay by short text messages or mobile app, and 10% pay by paper ticket, which paper ticket they scratch the, I will park for 1 hour, for 2 hours, or for in the green zone for up to 4 hours, and they place these paper tickets at the windshield inside the car. But 90% paid by short text messages. Only Bulgarian mobile operators are allowed. So if you are a foreigner and you don't have the Bulgarian mobile operator phone, you could pay by mobile app. So we have also payments by mobile app, but we don't know actually where, because you pay, and then we have also residents and people with paper tickets, so we could not allocate this within certain street.
That was my next question, because in principle, you might have this information on a block by block basis, but you are telling me the opposite, that you don't have this information.
With the application, yes, because when you pay by the application, the app locates you and tells you that you're in a blue zone, in green zone. You don't need to investigate where are you, because the app are locating you exactly where are you. But the biggest share is mobile operators, and with the mobile operator, you just send a short text message.
Okay, so to clarify, for the how much percent of those who pay via the app, you can know whether they reside in the blue zone or in the green zone. But what about the sub-blocks of the blue zone and the sub-blocks of the green zone? Do you get this information from the app or not?
as a general rule, we know that it is a blue or green. That is what we have. We don't have the precise location.
Okay, so it's not.
And then we have a ticket inspector who is checking manually, and it's check this car, this car, this car. So the ticket inspector is going. So based on the ticket inspector location, we could know what is happening in the specific subzone or in specific street, because the ticket inspector checks the license plate and what he could get, that this is short-term paid parking, this is resident, and this is outside, for example, of haven't paid. And then this is this vehicle is clamped. We are clamping the vehicles as enforcement vehicles, which are.
And how many inspectors do you have? Do you have the reports clustered by block, not only by zone?
160 ticket inspectors, 2 shifts.
Okay, so in principle, you might have a disaggregated information that you can allocate on a block by block basis, for example.
For the occupancy, we try to do it by the ticket inspectors, but you see the ticket inspector is checking a regularity, but now we have this occupancy here, but they are not everywhere. So we don't have a precise statistical information what is happening day by day. As we mentioned in the one of the previous questions for the patterns. If we have a IT solution, we will have precise information and data for the patterns, what is happening and when.
Okay, and I assume that you have the number of parking spots per each
Yes, we have.
zone, no?
Yeah.
So another request for the report would be to have more information on the data you already have. This information, what we are talking about now, and also answering previous questions, should be put in the report of this day. And this would be very important until the end of month, because it can inspire written reactions by our invited participants, but it can also be useful when we go to the design of the call for tender. I will speak about that later, but you know that between August and September, I will need all the possible information to profile the case. And given that you left Methodi, the participants now in this meeting and in future in the call, free to choose which block would be better, which sub-zone would be better for them. I think the more information is available in a disaggregated way, the better to guide their decision. Otherwise, we should think that only those who live in Sofia or not very far from Sofia might have the advantage of coming and maybe walking across the city and inspect the area. So we should prepare a package, an information package for all the participants, even those residing very far away, so that they can, to some extent, understand better for sure, and be guided in their election of the area where to do the experimentation. What do you think? What ideas come to your mind, Methodi?
Immediately come to my mind. First, we will provide with the existing cameras capable for license plate recognition in these subzones. We will investigate not only the availability of the cameras, but how can they provide the feed of these cameras if necessary. We will provide with number of parking spots per subzone. As per locations, this is we have to investigate further what could be done by there is now question in the chat especially related to that for what is the statistical incidence of the data that can be acquired via the app. Do you think it could be possible to create statistical predictive models based on the data from the app? We don't have these statistical predictive models, but this is something which we would like to have based on this solution for the pilot area, especially these predictive models based on the data from this designated area. We will explore further what we could provide from the app. Not sure we could provide the GPS data. So cameras, parking spots, some observations, because we have some observations, but they are too fragmented and not consistent, not based on cameras or AI or IT data.
This leads me to the no, I stop because there is another question in the chat, so we don't create noise. Jana is asking for some. Jana, can you voice your question? We are not in a hurry, so if I shut up, it will be better for everyone, and you have all the time, including Nicola, to make questions aloud. Please, floor is yours, Jana.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to ask if it would be also possible to obtain data on the distribution of the parking spots which are reserved for residents and companies, because we are talking about the percentage of free parking spots on a specific street, but then some of them are already pre-reserved. And it happens so that people tend to park in spots which are reserved for a very short amount of time, even though those spaces are not reserved for them, right? Like it happens that you just need to go to a shop and then you park your car for 2 or 3 minutes. So you technically occupy the space, but not for a very long time. I'm talking about the
business subscription. Yes,
yeah.
Business subscription. We could provide information for how many such business subscriptions are within the area, in the subzones, but consider them like they are not there because they are paid by, for example, banks, and they're for their clients. So we will provide you with information how many are those business subscriptions, but they don't influence the occupancy. Of course, if somebody stopped at this business subscription and is not a client of this particular business, we have a contract with the bank or with this business, so we are sending a tow away vehicle to remove that car from this reserved spot. As for the residents, there are no reserved places for residents, but we know how many residents registered. They have this vignette sticker, how many residents there are per subzone, but they are not, they don't have reserved spot. They are obliged to park within this subzone. Their permit is not valid in other subzone. This is because if you have a blue zone permit, you can use it in the entire blue zone. No, you can park only in your subzone when you leave, where you live. And we will provide information for how many are residents for these subzones. So far, they are not exceeding 100%, reaching it, but we don't have the issue of having more permits than the spots.
So then maybe, sorry.
Yeah, because we used to have 3 cars in the beginning, 3 cars per household. Now there are 2. The plans, as I mentioned, is only for 1, but we should work with 2 now as a number. And we don't have information which is also relevant based on the statistics and based on this could be acquired probably by the state or by some city departments dealing with citizens, with a permanent address and with the current address. And we could have cars per resident, because we don't know the residents, we know the permits. We don't know the residents as registered in this block, particular block or particular subzone. We know the residents in the whole city, but we don't know per subzones. All residents, the children, retired people, all of them. We know the permits.
Okay, then maybe could I just quickly ask, when you mentioned that you need the pilot solution to be applied to a sequence of 8 blocks, does that constitute a single subzone?
No, that constitute the, our idea is, actually this is negotiable. The idea is to be able to figure out the volume of the search traffic. And because the streets are one directional streets, we consider that this car could pass this block and then the second block and then the third in order to search for a, if you propose better solution for how can we figure out the search traffic, the volume of this search traffic, we are open to decrease this to 6 blocks or to increase it to 10 blocks.
Yep, because it would be, I guess, difficult to distribute the data with the residents, because the residents are only limited to park in a specific subzone.
Yes.
And if we analyze 8 blocks which are from 2, let's say, overlapping subzones, then we need to consider like the residents from both subzones, but then also look for the search traffic from people moving between zones. And it has to be, I think we need to think, like, to consider if subzones are more important entities compared to like a sequence of blocks. And like, does it make sense?
Yes, it makes
Okay.
sense. But yes, it could be in 2 subzones, this consequence of blocks. Our idea is to know the volume of the search traffic. So we are open for proposals and to select such area of the city where it will be more easier way to based on cameras or other IT solutions to know this search traffic.
And sorry, final question would be, do we have data about the constructions which are ongoing in the specific parts? Because constructions can definitely change the number of available spots.
So this is very dynamic. Every single day there could be a construction, but in general, yes, the city knows. Not we as an urban mobility center, but the city is having that information. If there is a construction which interferes with public transport network, the construction is the constructor or it's obliged to come to us for approval if there is a public transport network involved. But here in these subzones, there is no public transport within the subzone. There is a public transport on a major roads within the subzone, there is no public transport. So for the construction, we could provide some information for those constructions which are preliminary or approved way in advance. For some emergency constructions, we don't have. In general, we will try for the selected designated area to provide all of the information for constructions as well.
Thank you.
Okay, while we are waiting for more questions. Nicola, go.
Hi, sorry, I couldn't Nicola Morelli from the project team. I was wondering whether you are considering also some voluntary options, like encouraging citizens to use an app that tracks their parking behavior, you know, where they park, when they park, and so on. I don't know, giving them advantages if they use the app instead of using paper or mobile, for instance.
Actually, when I described this solution to some friends of mine living in the area, they said, we could provide you with that information. We know exactly what is happening on our street. This could be an option. So far the app is only for payment. But the information gathered by citizens is also welcomed. The point is how reliable it is, because the other information based on IT solutions and with some artificial intelligence could make some predictions based on statistical usage, while with information provided by citizens, they could feed to the whole system as a source, but not to be the only source of information.
Yes, yeah, of course, yeah.
Otherwise, we could incentivize something if there is a proposal for a dedicated app that if you have if you have some such working solutions in other cities, we could think of some incentives for people who contribute.
Yeah, I was thinking of a previous project we had in which there was an app that was offering, I don't know, discounts in the local shops if you use the app to record your in that case it was mobility behavior in general. Of course, this data is produced is citizen produced, so not necessarily reliable, but it seems to me that you have two categories of problem. One is to get data about parking, and the other one is elaborating this data with an artificial intelligence that gives you this statistical data. So this collection of data would be mostly on the side of increasing the number of increasing the data you have about parking occupancy.
Yes, this was the challenge described in the drafting part of the proposal for the project. But
yes,
and we have a now application actually, which was developed for another European project for urban innovative action. It's Sofia coin, but it's not for parking, it's for incentivizing walking, cycling. We could think for parking as an additional option in this app.
yes.
Yeah. Good.
Who developed that app, Methodi? Your team or someone else outside the city hall?
For Sofia coin, it was external provider, but it's now it's our as a application.
So that's another thing you should think about and maybe put in the report. So if I can summarize the discussion done so far, I think maybe what is missing here is the description of all the data sets you are in possession of, not necessarily only traffic related or parking space related. For example, the question on new building projects could be interesting, or any information. You mentioned the method, I didn't take note. You mentioned there is a city information system, you named it otherwise, like yes. A storage center of data. What is the exact name?
There is a department of in the city dealing with traffic lights, and they have
Okay.
cameras on that traffic light. So they have a system for prioritizing the public transport on that traffic lights. And some of the cameras, or more of them, I think they have this capability of license plate recognition. So
Okay.
they know entering, exiting some areas of Sofia in the city center.
Okay, so my proposal would be for you to go to that department, talk to your colleagues and see what kind of data sets they could share, of course, anonymous data sets and so on, but geolocalized to the best possible extent to favor this visualization of the differences between subzones in order for our participants to be guided to the decision they would prefer making when the time comes. And then I have another question, which is probably, again, something to put into the report. It's in terms, let's say, of KPIs, but not KPIs. You know, KPIs are sometimes or often used to, like a straitjacket, to force people towards doing things. In this case, the KPIs that I see missing are KPIs that can guide our participants in terms of getting to know exactly what you would be happy of seeing at the end of the experiment. So I would split the list of KPIs in two groups, let's say outputs and outcomes. So outcome can be a reduction by 5% of the average occupancy rate, for example. Output can be more in terms of how big the zone selected, the block area selected for the experiment should be, how many parking spots, this kind of information. Still, we are in a phase that everything can be discussed. And we can also change our mind completely and come in September with a different call for tender. But in this phase, based on the ideas you have, what could you tell us now in the meeting about your KPIs, those that you have in mind? And my request would be to put at least some of them into the report that we will prepare together, you and I and all our colleagues, after the end of this meeting.
We have a general target in the Sustainable Urban Mobility Plan. In 2035, only 20% be the modal share for cars. But it's a general, and it's for the whole municipality. Sofia as a municipality is 4 cities and 34 villages or settlements. So I'm afraid the small area, this designated area for the pilot, will not have such an impact on the big KPIs for the city itself. But as you mentioned, occupancy rate is it's important. So if we achieve 5–10% less occupancy rate, this will be enough for less search traffic, less traffic, overall traffic in this area. We could also measure public transport within the area. As I mentioned, we had some statistical also systems there in place, but walking, I mentioned we have these surveys once per year for the model split, but they are for the whole city, not for this specific subzone we will piloting the solution. So we will think for some KPIs other than occupancy rate and search traffic. Of course, if there is an occupancy rate of not the 100%, but less than 90 or 80, this means that we don't have also search traffic. which is now a problem. And we don't know what is the volume of this surge traffic. Imagine if it is 20, 25%. So we cut in a specific subzone with 25% the traffic, only by removing the surge traffic for parking spot. On top of that is the general traffic, meaning less cars overall. So
another document you might want to share, apart from the yearly surveys that you said, if there is any traffic plan, I don't know what the name in English can be. In Italian, it would be traffic plan, but it's like a photograph of the critical aspects of the traffic downtown as it stands now, and maybe suggestions also to the municipality on what to do in terms of, for example, new routes, new pedestrian areas, or reversing the direction of traffic in some streets and so on. Do you have anything like this which is current? No, because if it's old, it doesn't reflect the reality of the city, maybe of less interest. But do you have anything like that that could be shared?
We have sustainable urban mobility plan, and we have a general plan for traffic organization as well. So there are plans in place, but then what about the evaluation and monitoring of these plans? This is a bit of a problem to impose some not so popular decisions. That is why it's actually this pilot project. We need information in order the political level to make a justified decision for the traffic in the city. Otherwise, we have a plan, as I told you, that in this plan is stated that the occupancy should be not more than 85%, and if this exceeds 85%, then some prices should be changed or amended, but it's not the case now. So that is why we need more data, data centered or data approach based on data. And of course, there are also KPIs for monitoring of the air quality. There are different measuring points in the city to measure air quality. So less traffic will be cleaner air. And I mentioned in my presentation that we have more than 4,000 electric cars. And these electric cars they park for free in the zone. We could have some proposals to these electric cars as well, because one of the recent studies for the PM10, for example, showed that the transport is the emissions for PM10 generated by the transport is less than 8% of overall PM10s, but the cars are to be blamed for 25% of the PM10 because they lift the dust on the street. And if we have an entire fleet of electric cars, this dust will be lifted as well. So having these benefits for electric cars to park for free, at some point the city could reconsider this policy, because congestion with electric cars is still congestion. But this is only to, let's say, to scratch the surface on that topic. The statistical information will also show. We would like to have this information of how many electric cars actually use this particular subzone, because they can park 8 hours or 9 hours for free. They don't have limitation.
Okay, I stop for an instant to hear whether there are any questions from the participants. If not, I have my last one. Metodi, you started from a description of what you see as the ideal experiment, like selecting 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, so a certain number of parking spaces in a delimited area, and then probably creating ways to monitor what happens in that secluded area. But this is thinking in the box. So let me think out of the box. How would you see an experiment which is structured in a completely different way? Nicola was mentioning that earlier, like creating a certain number of people using a car every day and going across always the same route or different routes and recording what happens and then abstracting some knowledge from the evidence gathered in this way. I'm sorry, because I'm not an expert, so I'm making a stupid example maybe, but just to see whether you might be happy with something that comes up in a totally unexpected manner.
We should have more information regarding such solution. What would we expect from such solution? But yes, we are open for also different feeds of information. Let's say it like this. We still don't have a transport model though for the citywide transport model with an origin destination. This could give some information for patterns of people traveling. But yes, if there are some solutions or some ideas or some best practices or even lessons learned, because it could not be so successful, but we could improve it in a way. If there is such solution, yes, we are open for proposals. We made in one residential area outside of the city center with a EIT urban mobility call. It was for COVID call. Pictures from a drone. So drone of the Sofia University drone made pictures of the cars, and based on that picture, there is a heat map. Heat map, not as a heat, you know, for a flows, but traffic flows, but cars which came to this area in the morning were with a heat with different color, hotter, and those who left and those who stayed during overnight was cold. So of course you could make this only not in the very hot summer day in August, but outside of the very hot days or very cold days, of course, you could have a information of redistribution, which cars came and which cars stayed in a bigger area. This was also some useful information for us of what is the redistribution during the day of these cars, because people are going to work and others are coming here to take the metro because it is connected to one of the park and ride facilities outside of the city center. But this is just an example that every type of information is valuable, and we will assess based on the data which this solution will provide, as you mentioned. So yes, everybody are welcome to propose also some out-of-the-box solutions.
Great to hear. And by curiosity, who did the pilot that time? The university, the pilot with the drones?
Sofia University. There was specific Sofia, and it was not drones, but rather small planes. They had to take the permission from the air control. But I said with these drones, we could also have information for how much concrete you need to fill holes in your network road infrastructure, because they make also 3D pictures. So it's fascinating technology.
No, it's interesting. And also, of course, feel free to invite the university if you haven't done it yet, because it's still a long way until we publish the code. So feel free. Now I stop again to hear if there are any other questions on the challenge. If not, I will proceed with the presentation of what happens next. So I'm stopping here for an instant. Okay, so I will share my screen now. If I am allowed, I think I am. Okay, now you should start seeing my screen, and also you should see me moving the slides. Okay. So the purpose of this event was already stated, and I can only repeat what more or less has been already mentioned today or previously in our announcements. This is a listening event where we would like to get information on what is already in the market, because it is already at the level of products or services. TRL stands for technology readiness level, and conventionally N9 is the top level, and therefore it means that we can go and buy these products and services directly, which of course are not generic products or services, but they fulfill or are meant to fulfill exactly the challenge that Methodi introduced to us earlier. But we are also open, and I will explain to you why, to prototype solutions, which are near but not that near to the market. So they stand in the range of TRL 5 to 6. 5 to 6 means that they have left the generic prototyping phase, and they are already in a validation or testing phase done in real or realistic environments. So that, for example, what Methodi mentioned before, the plane doing the monitoring of traffic was already around 6 in terms of readiness. So we are not very demanding in technological terms, and we are open to experimenting further within the context of this project, and the call for tender I will mention in an instant. The call for tender will be designed and published by ANCI Toscana. ANCI Toscana is the Association of Toscan Municipalities, so it's an association of public entities, which is also the coordinator of the Climaboro project, a EU-funded project which provides the resources for this call for tender. The call will be published by end of September. We will have an internal meeting in Cascais around the 23rd, 24th of September. So by then we expect to have the final discussion on the contents of the call and then go to publication. The important thing, the interesting thing is that we do not aim at a single winner. We will reward two distinct and independent solution providers with this budget, which is close to 300,000 euros. So we can say roughly that half of the budget will be assigned to any of the two, but it's only indicative information, because it can be that, for example, the winner takes 200,000 and the second in the ranking takes 100, and it would be anyway acceptable. Participants can belong to industry or academia, or be young startup enterprises, micro SMEs. There can be individual bidders or consortia. We will be very open, very inclusive. There will be no big barrier to access this call, because what we are looking for is a smart solution. So we will look indeed at the capacities and the references of those who present their own ideas, but not to say that we will give a priority to the established organizations compared with young startups. It will not even be the opposite, but there will be a neutral judgment towards the background of the participants. We will be just interested in knowing your background to avoid that you are wasting time and we are wasting time in evaluating a proposal that doesn't exist in practice. That's the only reason for checking the background and the references of participants. Another important mention, I will show a couple of slides at the end of this presentation, is that 7 more European cities are involved in the same project with similar budgets and different challenges. Today, Sofia inaugurates the list of events exactly organized like this. We will be organizing across the month of July until the 19th of July. If you want to know more, go to our website. I will give you the information on my last slide. Anyway, climateborrow.eu is the URL of our website. So listening to what you have in mind or in your hands, but also to communicate that there are some obvious characteristics of the solutions we are looking for. First of all, we are open to any kind of solution. We are agnostic on the nature of the solutions. I mentioned earlier, and Methodi agreed with me, let's think out of the box. If it helps, it will be perfectly acceptable under this call. Anyway, there are some critical features which we expect the winning solutions will share at the very end of the story. The first obvious feature is that you should respond to the challenge posed by the City Hall. Today, the challenge is about getting information on specific behaviors of people. Of course, an app that does the online payment of parking fees is not exactly what the city of Sofia is looking for. So forget, don't waste your time and our time. Another important characteristic, but it's again, to some extent, implicit in what Methodi said before, and also the questions, we are not speaking about hard technology. We are speaking about an intelligent mixture of people, people's behaviors, changes in people's behaviors, and technology. So where to draw the line is open to you. It can range from figuring out, thanks to artificial intelligence, the current, the ideal pathways, the traffic flows should follow, up to something that, like in the example made by Nicola Morelli from another project, gives incentives to people, maybe through the existing app already in possession of the city hall, to do changes in their daily behaviors. It can be anything, but never forget the human aspect. The third component is obviously the budget. I already mentioned it's 300,000 euros divided roughly by 2. The fourth and very interesting characteristic is that it has to be scalable. And it's obvious from the discussion today that once it is demonstrated that the solution works in the small, we should be ready to scale it up, which is in the interest of both parties. The City Hall would be happy to put additional budget in the full-scale deployment of this solution. And of course, the winners of this call would have a competitive advantage because they are the developers of the winning solutions in participating in future calls for tender launched by the City Hall with the purpose of scaling this solution up more widely. And we should also think of the transferability of the solution, not just because we are fond of the idea in our European project, which is to demonstrate that if it works in Sofia, it can also work in other cities. But it's, I believe, in the interest of the participants to provide a solution which is open enough to be migrated to other cities and also building on the reputation gained by the Sofia experiment. You can think of expanding your business not only in the full-scale deployment in Sofia, but also in the experimental or full-scale deployment in other cities of Europe and overseas. So what is the process or the procedure we are starting today? Today we have already had the discussion on the city challenge. This is not going to change much until the publication of the call for tender, but our commitment will be to integrate, to complement the information provided today with additional information in a report which will be put on the website of the Clamaboro project in the next few days. The floor is still open to present possible solutions that exist in the state of the art. As I said, they can be either products or services, but also R&D results or prototypes. We are recording the session, and therefore anyone speaking today will be part of the recording, so there is no we are not breaking up the fairness and transparency rules which accompanies every public procedure. Also because the City Hall will be free to consider or not consider the information received. Anyway, if anyone feels that today is too early to speak, too early to describe anything, you will have the opportunity until the end of this month to send a written contribution to the City Hall. There is a template we prepared, which is accessible from the website from the Clamaboro website in the space dedicated to the Sofia challenge. And again, for a matter of transparency, we will publish every received contribution on the website. In case you are in possession of some privacy protected or business confidential information, you can either avoid including that information in your contribution or ask us to remove it. So that's the only exception to the transparency rule. As I said, by the end of September, if everything goes well, we have 8 situations running in parallel. We hope everything will go fine. We will publish this call on TED. It will be one of the 8 lots of a single call for tender launched by ANCI Toscana. And I will, in the next slide, talk to you about the development of the call. We will have a comfortable deadline because we want to continue advertising the opportunity, also because there is more than one winner we expect to reward. And when Methodi spoke about doing the experimentation in autumn, I think we are aligned with that. Our objective is to sign the 16 procurement contracts indicatively by mid next year, 16 because, like I said, we have 8 cities and 2 winners per city. First, why are we doing this? Is it legal? Yes, it is. The legal framework is given by the European Directive of Procurement, which has been originally approved and then transferred to the member states in 2014. Every legislation, including the Bulgarian legislation, being a member state of the European Union, allows for this approach. We will follow anyway the European directive because this call is actually rooted in 8 distinct European countries. What we are doing as a single procurer on behalf of 8 cities is mentioned in Article 38 of that directive. And this event, today's event, the preliminary market consultation, is mentioned and provided for in Article 40 of the Procurement Directive. In case of doubt, you can still check the FAQs which are available at this link. We already published the prior information notice of this procedure on TED, the supplement of the official gazette of the European Union dedicated to public procurement, and we will publish on TED again and on our website as well the full text of the call for tender. So this is perfectly legal. As you see in bold, we chose the instrument of the innovation partnership, and this will be explained in my second next slide. So we are now in the process of solution identification. We started from the analysis of state of the art in the city of Sofia, and then across 3 or 4 months of work, we landed into the definition of the challenge, as you have heard from the words of Methodi today. But we are still open to specifying better, also thanks to the discussion today, the features and the constraints which we will put into the call text as requirements for the solution. The good thing is that these will never be 2 binding requirements. So we are not changing the rules of the game. Today we are open, we are inclusive, we are ready to listening. And next time when we publish the call, we will have one single solution in mind, and so all the stated requirements will point at that specific solution. No. And this is the reason why we chose the innovation partnership instrument, which is part of the legal framework of procurement in Europe and in every member state, because it is a kind of instrument which is compatible with continuing to co-develop the solution between the city and the participant. We already discussed a lot about the elements of the solution, and there can be additional questions even today on these three elements. For example, if there is any existing data Metodi and his team can bring to us, sourced from several sources, as we already discussed, stored in which platforms, including data that is not open but could be shared with the participants for the time being, to help them out in identifying the best way to access the code. We spoke about socio-technical solutions, therefore we are open to solutions that engage citizens, stakeholders deeply to facilitate the achievement of the objectives as stated by Metodi, and which will be reinforced by KPIs for both outputs and outcomes. We spoke about localizing the experiment geographically in a number of blocks in a specific subzone, but it could also be about identifying a community of people who will be collaborating with the proposers in the definition of the solution as it will be delivered at the end of the project. Technologies can be many. There is not even a mention here of artificial intelligence, which was discussed previously, but we can also think of solutions in the area of climate services, which are specific to providing information to decision makers in the area of climate, as this is a related topic to climate. It could be that in the family of technologies speaking about climate, something might be helpful to meet the challenge of the city of Sofia. Citizen science could also be an option. There are several projects and also some solutions, for example, enabling people to become sensors themselves of the pollution degrees in the city. Maybe this is not exactly the same case, and certainly it is not, but we could think of other solutions to contribute to the general goal. Gamification is also an option. Gamification to make people's lives easier and also to help them or force them, depending on viewpoints, to contribute to the solution. Interoperability, this is something we didn't speak about, so maybe Metodi, you can spend a few words on this after I am finished, because this is also possibly true for the application that already exists, enabling to make payments. What is the level of interoperability that you might expect, not just for the prototype, but for the full solution? Interoperability with existing systems to exchange which kind of data. This is some information that we might also put in the report at the end of today's event. And then there are also legal and ethics aspects to be considered from the point of view of the city hall, all the experiments will be, of course, part of a special allowance, including also the handling of privacy issues, and to some extent, the suspension of the operation of some rules and regulations, creating a sort of sandbox, as the term goes, quite popular today, like an area which is free from contamination of existing rules and regulations, favoring the execution of pilot activities. But this still has to be defined on both sides, not only from the public sector today, the city of Sofia, but also from the private sector, those who will want to participate. So why did we choose the innovation partnership? This is my second last slide, because it works very nicely and in an unpredictable way, which is perfectly legal. So imagine on the left-hand side of this slide, we will have a certain number of bidders. Each of them will be asked to deliver a technical only offer. So we will not ask you to make a price yet for the solution. So you will come with a description of the contents of the service, because this is a procurement of service example. You will be providing to us, of course, having in mind that the average budget for each winner will be in the range of 150,000 euros. So only the technical offer. We will read the technical offer and then negotiate it with each of you. This time, no longer publicly, but secretly, individually, on a bilateral basis. We will talk to each of you and we will tell you what we think of your proposal, where it should be improved in our view to meet the requirements of the city hall, and maybe if there are some useless parts which we are not interested in, we will also tell you that. So you will save money indirectly because there will be no need to deliver those parts. So you will have time to think of the contents of our negotiation. And when we are done with all the talks, so each bidder will have the opportunity of a bilateral talk. And of course, each bidder will be free of not touching the technical offer at all, because we don't want to mind your own business. We will give you suggestions, but we are also ready to receive the technical bid again for the second time with identical contents to the first we got from you. The only difference is that after the negotiation, together with the revised bid, if any, we will want to see the price. And then, in our example here, out of the 3 revised bids received, 2 of them will be awarded, 1 will not be awarded. And the criteria to award the tender will be stated in the call, for sure. They will be probably different from lot to lot, because if some of you have the patience of joining additional events like this in the coming days, you will notice that we are speaking about considerably different challenges. So it is extremely reasonable that, for example, in the city of Grenoble, which is the next to come in 2 days, the evaluation criteria will be different as far as quality is concerned, but then it will all boil down to being a comparison between quality and price, and therefore we can say the principle we adopt for the evaluation will be the MEET principle, standing for the most economically advantageous tender, or tenders, because in this case we will have two winners, as I said. So this is why we chose the innovation partnership as an instrument, and I am ready to receive your questions also on this. Finally, a quick look at the other cities and the other challenges. Grenoble, which is next Wednesday, will be about not too different, but still different topic, because it will be about gathering data again, which is a shared task by the majority of cities, but to improve the climate neutrality of individual behaviors. For those who are interested, the possibility of registering on Eventbrite is still there. And then we will have Athens next Monday, which is about the engagement of citizens. And then Differdange, I think it will be in the middle of July, I don't remember exactly when, with a similar challenge to probably Grenoble to some extent. And then we have the other 4 cities, Torino, which will be this Friday, which is about, where the challenge is about differentiation of waste, electrical waste and textile waste, the contribution that families, households, and citizens can give to improving the differentiation of waste. More or less a similar challenge in Cascais, where the focus is on bio-waste and textile and other typologies. In Ioannina, we will have a different challenge, which is about reducing the pollution in a lake, which is induced by people's behaviors, tourists and even residents. But again, the challenge will be about the interplay between data and behaviors. And finally, in Maribor, we will have, again, the issue of waste segregation at source. So there is probably more commonality here among these 4 challenges than in the previous ones. I am done. The climaboro.eu is the official address. You will find in our website a dedicated section to public procurement. You can also contact me for questions regarding this presentation. Never forget that also the questions received after this event will be published online in the FAQ, of course, preserving the anonymity, but in one way or another, we will want to ensure full transparency and full disclosure of information, not only to those who have been patient enough to stay with us today, but also with other potential participants in this phase of the procedure, which will be officially closed, as I said, the 1st of August, when we will start the drafting of the call for tender, taking benefit of all received information from your side, not only today, but also until the end of July. I thank you very much, and I pass the floor to Methodi now.
Hello, thank you so much for your presentation. I should say that Methodi must leave because he had the one very external appointment and they called him. He left the meeting, and I want to apologize instead of him because it was urgent. That's why he left. And first, I want to say a few words about the intermobility transport. As you mentioned that in your presentation, Francesco, we have this opportunity and this start from the municipality. We have up where we can pay for the transport when we are traveling without card, and we can pay it with credit or debit card. So we can pay for the buses or the trams or for the metro stations. There is another app which is not ours about the Spark mobility and some electrical bicycles. We can pay by another app, but they are apps only for these firms who are owners of the bicycles or owners of the cars. We don't have this opportunity to have all of this information on one place, and this is very sad for us, because probably it will be great if we have opportunity to combine everything what we've got, like apps, and the opportunity for citizens to use different mobility and paying for that only with credit or debit card. But for now, it's not possible for us. And we have, as Methodi said before that, we have opportunity, all the citizens, to pay about different zones, blue one or green one, using different app. This app is for the Sofia municipality, and there they can use again credit or debit card to pay for their for their cars to stay on parking places. Or yes, and they can use SMS too by the different mobility providers.
Thank you, Methodica, for the clarifications. I open the floor to questions. We still have half an hour before closing, so feel free to make questions on my presentation or back to Methodi's introduction. Please. I see a hand raised. BGN, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Bernadette. I'm connected from Barcelona in Spain here, from Technology Center Eureka. Thank you very much for all this detailed information and what's the situation, because even if we've been, I think everybody was very silent during all the presentation, because there was such a lot of input, and we're constantly thinking about how we can use this information and what can we offer then in return. Our technology center definitely has some competences in the area of, for example, traffic and tourist flow prediction and so on. We did some, I thought funny, because I'm the user, apps also on public transport user behavior and how they value the time and perceived time lost or used. So maybe when you talked about the gamification, I also thought about, well, actually everybody who's searching for a parking lot is considering that this is lost time. And it's definitely an issue where you can start to work with behavior changes also as soon as they have a negative perception of time. However, besides this, we are an applied technology center. However, we would be very interested in collaborating with somebody, but we have to admit, we are from Spain. We don't know your local circumstances. We can provide technology. We can help to perfection, maybe also algorithms or whatever you have in product. So we don't see ourselves as a prime contractor, for example. For such a contract, however, we would be very interested in getting in touch with other companies, because with a quick look on LinkedIn and so on, I searched some of you already in the internet. I think there are some very interesting companies now connected to this session where we could find some collaboration maybe. And this is also why I would like to ask you whether you have the intention to engage for market exchange or some kind of marketplace or matchmaking or whatever, just to get us in touch, because maybe or probably nobody has the perfect solution and the overall solution, and it might be very necessary to complement competences, and we would be very interested to collaborate.
Thanks, Bernadette. Thanks for the compliments. First of all, what is ironic is that the opportunities we are offering to the participants in this event and then in the future call are indeed printed in the European law since a decade, but this is the first time ever that anyone tries them in this way. This is ironic, but we are also proud, and not only proud, we are committed to sharing as much as possible, not only the process, but also the results, which we expect to be rewarding for us. Because this can be, we are convinced that this can be the right direction for accelerating the take-up of solutions which help cities achieve their goals in terms of climate neutrality. This is the vision of our project, and we are happy to be here today. This is why we are putting our own extra of enthusiasm in what we are doing. Concerning your points, good that you took note of the participants and so on. The participant list will be openly shared on the website. And we are happy that this happens because this is one of the side objectives of events like this, to promote the matchmaking or the encounter of players maybe coming from different countries, like in this case. We are not promoting anything directly. So it will be your initiative, your own initiative, to contact people or be contacted by other people. So good that you introduced yourself. I hope other participants today will speak and introduce themselves. But we will not procure anything like that on our own initiative. What we are aiming at is to spread the news as much as possible, because we want to have good proposals when the time comes. We know there are constraints, limits, the budget is that one, it's not 10 times higher, but what we aim at doing is a good job to procure two useful solutions for the city of Sofia, for the challenge they stated, and also to be reused, because the evidence says that every city, major city in Europe, has the same issue. And so maybe a solution that starts acting in the way Methodi was telling us earlier can be interesting for many other cities, and the reputation gained by successfully deploying the solution in Sofia can be of value also above the limited amount of money that we will offer to you in return for your ideas, your energies, your smartness as participants. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't know if Methodica would like to add anything to my words.
I just wanted to say that everything what we've got, like different projects and firms we are which are working with us, you can see on our website, Sofia Municipality, sofia.bg. There we have information about all of our departments, and you can contact us if you need more information or you need more partners for different projects or some ideas. We are open for communication. There you will find everything what you need.
Yeah, I'd like just to add to this, that if you have any questions, you can write to climab@climaboro.eu. That is our general email account. And all the questions that will be asked will be added to the FAQs, as Francesco already anticipated earlier. That's important. And by the way, I'll play also my role of borrowing coordinator. We have the legal obligation to have all people participating registered, and then if all of you, I mean the ones that didn't, if you can register on Eventbrite, it's still possible. You can still have a ticket from Eventbrite even on board, just because it's important, because you are registered, you will be published and there is the authorization for us to do so. Otherwise, we may have been in trouble.
Thank you, Matteo. I don't know if there are any other questions. Javier?
Yeah, no, I guess, are we gonna have the time to make our own, our proposals, our, well, a little expansion? Of what we propose?
You can find, as I said, you can find on the template, on the website, the template.
Yeah, I already sent it, but
Okay.
in the template, they said like, if you wanted a little bit of time in the meeting to make your, each presentation, or
Yes,
I'm just asking it.
if you have a presentation to make, we still have time, so.
Yeah.
Wait.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to mention a little bit our
Please.
proposal to Metodica, and also for you, for the other project, I think it would be interesting. I am from Ticketing. We are a Spanish enterprise, and what we make is we have some radio frequency devices for which we can detect, identify individually, simultaneously, and anonymously smartphones. All of these according to the general data protection rules of Europe. So we provide a digital solution. Digital, in case you don't know, is like physical plus digital, yeah. So thanks to this, we can understand people's behaviors, not only for mobility, as the case of Sofia city, but also for tourism, for security, even for recycling. As you know, the project of Torino, for example. Yeah. So in the case of Sofia, it will help us understand not only the mobility for cars, but also for different vehicles, electrical bikes or electrical scooters, or yeah. Also, yeah, so it can be integrated with different software like apps and combined with other technologies, of course, like cameras in the case of, for example, mobility and traffic. It could be pretty interesting. But also it offers the possibility of interaction. That's why before I asked you, Metodica, if they would be interested or not on changing on redirecting the traffic in the city. So yeah, we offer that possibility of interaction and gamification also, and not only through apps, but it's not required apps. So apps have a problem, which is that sometimes people download them and then they delete them. So it can be like a more fixed in the time, more continuous, and foster a longer engagement of the citizens in time. And it has been already implemented in other cities of Europe, in Salzburg, in Pamplona, for example, I don't know if you know them, one of the big events in Spain, in Parma for security. We have an award of the best technological solution by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce and Tourism of Spain. So just so well, especially for you, from Francisco, it was interesting for us and for you maybe to know about us, and maybe for any other people in the, as you said, it's one of the side objectives to get to know between us and what we do and what how maybe we can collaborate together. So in any case, thank you for also by your presentation, and all your the information that there was a lot of input and really interesting. Yeah.
Thank you, Javier, for attending today. It's a listening event, as I said. Are there any other participants willing to introduce themselves? Or make questions, any kind of questions. Of course, the presentation I made today will be available and downloadable from the website of the tender, so no worries. But if you have any specific question, we still have a quarter of an hour. We can close earlier, but since we are all here, okay, if there are no more questions, I would pass the floor to Metodica for the conclusions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. As you can understand, we already explained our issue which we have, and I'm sure that a lot of cities, they have the same. And we are very open to every solution which you can give us, or some ideas how we can manage with this problem. As Matteo said, you can write to us, or you can write to the mail of this project. And when we received all your ideas, we can discuss them with our team. And after that, we will give you feedback, and we will discuss all of this process with Matteo and Francesco and the other part of the team. And we will give you feedback. Thank you so much that you were part of this meeting today. It was really important for us.
Thank you for organizing it, and I think if no one else would like to speak, Matteo, would you like to say anything? Otherwise, we can close.
Yeah, I want to just to thank everyone for participating, for being here, participating so much too. It was very interesting also to hear some of you. And for the ones of you that are interested in these challenges, don't mind to come to the next ones. I put in the chat the various, and the next ones are Wednesday and Thursday in Grenoble and in Torino. And then next week we have 10, 12, 14, then we have 17 and 19, and we have a lot. Then if you're bored and you need, I mean, you know where to find us. On our website. You find all the information, also on the other short description of the challenges of the other cities. Then feel free to go have a look, and if you have any questions, you write us, and we will be very happy to answer you. But I think that we can close here. Thank you very much to all of you, and see you next one then in Grenoble, I guess. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.